Good morning. Aren't we grateful to be inside today versus outside? If we were outside, we wouldn't have it. We would just, be doing it virtually as we have done in the past, other times. But so grateful to be here in Fuller Hall to have this air conditioning, that's for sure. So this month, we are chosen to work with Joel Goldsmith and the book Practicing the Presence. And just a little sidebar, in that we have started our book study on Tuesdays at 4:30. We are able to meet inside, which is nice because we have the air conditioning. And we're only really in the middle of chapter 1, so if any of you still want to join us, you can avail yourselves of that very easily. So I invite you to do that. It's a great group of people, and it's a great conversation that we have with it, so look forward to seeing you there. How many of you are aware of Joel Goldsmith, and what his background is, and where he came from, and all that kind of stuff? Yeah, several of you, okay. Well, I just have a little synopsis here for those of you who are not so sure. He was born August 10th of 1892, and he passed on in 1964. He was 72 years old. He was born in New York City, and in 1915, at the age of 23, his father became ill in London, and he was sent word that he needs to come back over and collect the body. The only thing was that a Christian Scientist healed the father in the meantime, and so he didn't collect the body. Obviously, his father kept living. And Joel joined the Marines in World War I. He ran his own business in the New York City Garment Center after that. Then when he was aboard a ship going from Europe back here, he contacted pneumonia. Didn't look good for him. And again, another Christian Scientist healer was on the board of the ship and healed him of it as well. So he started practicing this healing presence, and people would stop him on the street and ask to be healed. And he wondered why or how. So he started attending the Christian Science Church and attended it for 11 years. And then he studied the scriptures, all the scriptures in the ancient languages of Aramaic, Greek, and Sanskrit. And I wanted to share with you some of the specifics from this bio of his. Goldsmith's insistence on no organization ensured that his message remained a personal journey with leaders naturally evolving from new generations. Goldsmith's students can be found in all walks of life and all religions. Goldsmith's message is one that can be read and heard for a lifetime, always allowing new understanding to unfold in each individual. Goldsmith stressed contemplative meditation practice. That method he generally taught was short, frequent meditation periods throughout the day. Joel told his students of 18 years, Walter Starkey, that the main reason to meditate was that through reaching the inner silence, one could hear the still small voice and receive its intuitive guidance. His teachings also stress spiritual healing through conscious contact with God. So we are working with this month, Practicing the Presence. That was published in 1958, 10 years after he had written The Infinite Way. The byline on this book, Practicing the Presence, is, "Here is practical mysticism, an unusual and inspiring guide to the awareness of God's power in daily life." So our topic this morning is spiritual consciousness. Our consciousness is the substance of our world. Consciousness, what is that? Awareness, realization, perception. Substance is our material, our body, our core, our essence. As our consciousness becomes more spiritual, confidence in the infinite and visible increases, and our love, hate, or fear of external diminishes. So the more we go within and we contemplate and feel the presence of this love, of this energy that is breathing us, that is living us, the less we are concerned with exterior things. It diminishes because we are more and more living in this kingdom that is right here. He said, the person who is studying, practicing the presence of God soon has no problems, no needs, and no desires. Those things which are necessary for his health and supply have a way of taking care of themselves. It's kind of hard to believe a life with no problems, no needs, no desires. Do we even want that? I mean, honestly, literally, in a way, my ego is just screaming, saying, wait a minute, that's not what life's about. Well, in all actuality, when we are leading the spiritual life, yes, things just seem to fall in place for us. And that's really not a bad way to live, I think. This is God's life that we are living. I firmly believe in that. And so my suggestion is that we surrender, that we let go of needing to have it my way, this way of the ego. It would be impossibility to find ourselves in the presence of God and find anything of a harmonious nature missing in our experience, because I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. This life, this reality that we're living in, is absolutely for us. It wants us to live this pristine life, to be it in expression. So it takes living in the now, living in the present, letting go of the shoulds, letting go of the maybes, letting go of the regrets of the past, the worries of the future. I know we've got a fire going on right now. And somebody said the wind just shifted and they weren't coming to church today because I got to be at the house. And yeah, there are things like that going on. That's a reality of this existence. But how we can handle it internally and not be fearful of it, knowing that whatever needs to be done, I will be able to, this I am that I am, will be able to step up at the time that's necessary and do it. Deepak Chopra said, if you want to reach a state of bliss, then go beyond your ego and the internal dialogue. Make a decision to relinquish the need to control, the need to be approved, the need to judge. Those are the three things that the ego is doing all the time. It's very important to be aware of them every time they come up. So the key there is awareness. That's what we teach in this religious science movement, is awareness. What are we thinking? What are we feeling? Is it a priority for us to feel the presence? That's what Goldsmith keeps talking about, is feeling this presence that we are and loving it, living it, being it in full expression. Joel wrote, how do we know when the Spirit of God dwells in us? If we are letting go of hate, envy, jealousy, malice, self-seeking, self-glorification, prejudice, and bigotry, we are making room for the Spirit of God, for God cannot dwell in the midst of such qualities. We talked about that God is everywhere, correct? God is there, it's always there. But we need to make ourselves available to it. We need to avail ourselves of it. And if we are thinking all of those negative things that he listed there, we are not making room for God to be there. God is that silent presence that doesn't bowl you over, like we listened in Marcy's song. It's this quietness. It's in that stillness. And it's consistent for us. But we need to be open to it. In the book and in our conversation at the book club, we talked about the example of electricity, and how yes, electricity is here. It's in the building and in the wall. But if we don't have something to plug into it, it's not going to do us any good. It's going to be there, but we will have no awareness of it, no usage of it. And then I reminded the class about Edwin Gaines, the minister from Alabama, who's just the cutest thing. And she talks about going to, I think it was England, and not having the right apparatus to curl her hair, because the electricity is different over there, I guess. And she said, I could beg and plead, please, please. And it won't do any good. You've got to be able to connect to that energy. And that's what we're talking about, is to be able to consciously connect to this energy, to this power within us. And as I wrote in the thought for the week, Joel tells us God is available only in proportion to our realization and willingness to accept the discipline that is necessary for our attainment of that mind, which was also in Christ Jesus. And I don't know about you, but boy, when I look at that word discipline, I do. I sometimes recoil from it. I don't know if it's the rebel in me. I don't know what it is, but I don't necessarily want to be disciplined. And yet when I realize that when I do something consistently in my life to the point that it becomes a habit, that it's a good habit, brushing your teeth, I don't care what it is, when you make it a habit, you don't even have to think about it any longer. That is a discipline. And it's setting yourself up to then being able to be in that flow of that current of love and life. And, for me, I do feel the priority first thing in the morning to read my readings, to do my prayer work, and to do the meditation. Meditation is going within and allowing this energy to speak to us. It's being silent long enough to wait and honor what message will this beautiful being have for me this day. And it takes ferreting out all of the necessary things that are on your to-do list and all of that, letting go of all that ego thing and not getting caught up in it, setting it aside and being available. And so it was reminding me, how can I discipline myself, to do this more frequently? Like Joel says, intermittently throughout the day, very frequently touch in with this power. And I was, of course, babysitting my little granddaughter this week, Adeline, and she is now 2 years and 5 months. We'll be on the 10th. And she's going through a transitionary stage where she's fighting going down for her nap. She doesn't want to do the nap, and everything is elongated. Well, I need to read another story. No, I need to read another story. We need to do, she's negotiating, all these things that she needs to do. So, in sharing this with her parents, her father said, well, okay, Adeline, if you don't want to go to sleep, that's okay, but you've got to have at least 45 minutes of quiet time. And actually, the first couple days we've done that, within the first 10 or 15 minutes of the quiet time, she falls asleep. But so this last Friday, I was in there and singing to her, and she's popping up and down. Adeline, lie down. She does, lies down. Up again, she lie down. Up again, lie down. And so Burke finally came in and obviously saw she was up. And I said, well, we've been in here for about 10 minutes. He said, okay, well, I'm going to set, and he has a little clock that he got in her room, and she calls it a hippo. I don't know why. It has 2 eyes and a mouth, but so I'm going to set the hippo for, 35 minutes or something, so that you're going to have 45 minutes of quiet time. So, and then he set the timer. And so then I got excused. I was done for the day. But I thought, gosh, I wonder if I should set some sort of timer on my watch or do something to remind me, because I don't know about you, I get so caught up in what's happening in life, in the things I'm doing or the things that I'm about to do, or all of that I will need some sort of a reminder that, okay, it's on the hour, need to do something to just harness me back in. And Joel says, it doesn't have to be very long. Just a little acknowledgement of this divine being that is living and breathing us, being available to it. That's all it takes. Wouldn't that be lovely to be disciplined enough to do that? I mean, and not just once every hour, but that what he's talking about is doing it consistently all the time. Having the mind of Jesus Christ. That's where he was at. And Jesus said, these things you can do as well. He didn't say that he was the exception. We teach that he was the example, that we all can do this. And it takes not just being open to having it here, but to feeling it, to feeling that energy. When we have the energy of the air conditioning, or we have the energy of this power and this electricity, we want to feel the coolness in the air. We want to enjoy what the presence is giving us in the way of presence, with a T. Because it's gifting us all the time with wonderful gifts of life. So if you have an idea for me of some way that I can remember on a consistent basis, I'm up for it. So I'm happy to get any suggestions any of you may have. I would say, though, let's go ahead and first things first, prioritize. And when we get up in the morning, first thing, thank God, before we even raise our head off the pillow. Thank God for this day. Thank God for this life. Thank you for all the wonderful opportunities I have this day to express. And then I go into blessing all my people and all of that kind of thing. And then get up and do our reading and create a habit of being grateful, literally. How easy is that? Going out, yes. I mean, we're grateful that the wind is shifted, I guess, in one direction or another, and who knows what's going to happen in that regard. So far, it's mainly just been grasses that have been burning. I don't think there's been too many structures or anything. But let us be grateful and open for the gift of this life as we have it, because it is not a guarantee. Anything can happen, and we could be released from this life today and lay this earthly body down and go on to our next reward. So we want to stay tuned into being in the presence, living in the kingdom of God, living in this magnificence that we are in, and being ever so grateful for it. So allow it, invite it, let it flow through you, and you will see miracles happening in your life. They are available to all of us if we will just invite them in. So practice the presence in this coming week. Do it whatever way you can. Let me know if you have a suggestion that you can do it at least once an hour, to be open to that love that is beating your heart and breathing your breath and being you. Be that love and expression this week. Namaste.